Told you. Told you.
Well, I left my house at 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 2:30 in the afternoon. So far, I have not been able to access a single one of the spots I've been trying to get to. Let me get you up to speed. All right. Well, first of all, let me welcome you to the 2024 hunting season. Technically, I've already been hunting this year down in New Mexico in January, but I kind of consider January, February, the end of the previous year, and April is kind of the start of the current season. So bear season just opened up on Monday here in British Columbia. It's Friday today. And so we have had extremely little snowfall this year. Normally, I would not even consider heading out into the bush until, late April, early May at the earliest. But we have had almost no snowfall whatsoever this year in the lower mainland. So I thought to myself, I got a couple of mule deer cams that have been buried since last year. I'd love to go have a peek at those. I got a couple new spots I couldn't get access to last year. Maybe I can get access to this year. So I booked today off, full-blown scouting day. Didn't bring a firearm, didn't bring a tag. It's funny, bear season is open, but I don't want to shoot a bear yet. I want to do more hunting. And I didn't want to get greedy and happen to see a bear, out wandering around on my first day of hunting and pull the trigger and there goes one of my bear tags. Now we do get 2 bear tags in British Columbia, but nonetheless, I want to look for animals in the early part of the season. We'll worry about killing them later in the season. So, took my kid to school this morning, headed out into the bush, got to the access point for my first spot maybe shortly before 11 o'clock. And way too much snow. Like basically the area I was trying to get to, there's this kind of like parking lot at 0K, and I had about another 25 to 30K to go. All that road was pretty flat. When I used to work in that area 10 years ago, that was a major hauling route for logging trucks. I thought for sure the road would be active. Dead wrong, covered in snow. Almost got the truck stuck, had to dump the quad trailer by hand, turn it around, whip the truck around, put the quad trailer back on, got the hell out of there, and then drove about another hour and a half-ish. Got to another location. This was closer to like some residential stuff. And you're going to notice in these early season vlogs, I'm not going to show a bunch of me driving around. I'm not going to show a bunch of road footage and truck footage because it's all kind of lower mainland hunting. And listen, I don't have any crazy honey holes, but I don't want to accidentally blow out somebody's spot. So suffice it to say, I had 3 different potential access routes to basically these 2 faces that I wanted to go look at. All of them shut down with private property gates. Now, the thing about the lower mainland is people are pretty liberal with the gates. So lots of times it's Crown access, but like local licensees and timber companies, because they got equipment up there, they get a little bit of freewheeling with the gates. So just because you legally have access to a location does not mean you're actually going to be able to get in there. So went to those 3 spots. All those 3 spots got shut down. Drove another 45 minutes to another spot. The first access into that spot was shut down. And the gate was technically open, but there was a sign that says that, it closed at a certain time, and I won't get into the details. But I was like, I'm not feeling good about, taking my whole rig back in there and then potentially getting caught in there for the end of the day. So came on a whole other access route. Now I am still 8 kilometers from where I want to go, but the road looks somewhat decent. There's a huge washout right in front of me. I'm not taking my truck through it, but again, had to hand bomb the quad trailer off, turn it around, crack the truck around, hooked it all back up. I'm going to dump the quad and run up this last 8K of road. Hopefully there's no catastrophic road failures that, inhibit me from doing so. Now it's super early. I'm not going to find some monster bucks or anything like that. What I'm looking for is just general activity. I brought 3 cams with me, brought some salt, And I just want to get them out in the field. I want to come back in a month. If I've got any activity whatsoever, I'll keep putting energy into this location. If it's dead, I'll rip the cams and put them out in a new spot. This is really early stage scouting. And that's kind of what the priority for this year is as many days in the field as possible, as much scouting as possible. So I'm going to dump the quad, rip up this road, and just start looking for sign. And if we can find some heavy sign and some heavy trails, we'll set some cams and hope for the best. All right, well, that's failed mission, I don't know, 6 maybe. So I'm not gonna get into the mechanics of it all, but lots of times there's roads put into permit that don't actually get built for whatever reason, and sometimes they don't get taken out of permit. So you can look on the map and you can see a line connecting 2 places, but when you show up, it just dead ends. So, and lots of times it has to do with playing appraisal games with logging the wood, because they get so much money back for how much road they have to build inside the block. Anyways, still had about 5K to go to get kind of around the back of this ridge into where I wanted to go, and completely ran out of road. So just dead ended in the timber. So turned around, starting to head back down. I was gonna do some hiking around here, but if I bomb it back to the truck, there's one more potential route up and in to get to the area that I want to. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so it's now Monday morning, and when I got home Friday night, I'd actually decided to not post the video that you just watched. The reason being, I was boring as hell, nothing of interest happened, nobody's gonna wanna watch this on YouTube. But the more I thought about it over the weekend, I realized, listen, it might not get the most views or clicks, but who cares? That's not why I started this thing anyways. And I think there's value in sharing what actually happened on Friday for a couple of different reasons. First one, I think the most challenging thing for new hunters is finding spots. When you live in a rural area and you have mountains or hunting spots close by and you can just rip out for a couple hours and there's tons of public land everywhere, I don't want to take anything away from those people. They bust their ass. They deserve all the success they get. But there are fewer barriers to entry in those situations. When you live in an urban setting like the Lower Mainland, it takes multiple hours to find spots to go hunt. You're dealing with tons of private property issues. I'm certain whitetail guys on the East Coast deal with this stuff all the time. Most of my hunting is spent in the mountains. But I think this idea that we're going to take 10 days in September, we're going to go on a hunt, and we're going to kill without any legwork in the preseason to build up a body of information to support that hunt. The idea that we're going to be successful without that pre-scouting is ridiculous. But if you watch a lot of hunting content these days, that's what it feels like. It feels like people just go out, hunt, and kill. The reality of the situation is the absolute killers, the dudes who are putting down, respectable animals year after year after year, have a veritable catalog of spots that they have spent years building. So I think showing how I'm going about building those spots, the type of challenges that I'm running into trying to build those spots, the wins, the losses, all of it, I think is actually hyper valuable. And I think there's a lot that we can take away from it and learn from. Now, before we go any further, I do want to give a quick plug for foragedinthebackcountry.com. So most people know I've been doing a bear hunt giveaway. So every $5 you spend on apparel at foragedinthebackcountry.com gets you one entry to win a guided black bear hunt in British Columbia. I will accompany you on that hunt, I will film that hunt, and I will post that hunt to the Mindful Hunter YouTube channel. Now, you have until April 16th at 11:59 p.m. to enter. So there's less than a week
for qualified purchases. There's been a ton of entries already, but I would love for anybody who's kind of been on the fence or unsure about it. It's going to be a super fun hunt. We're going to be hunting with Primitive Outfitting. Jeff Lander's a good buddy of mine. He's going to be on the podcast this week talking about hunting tips for spring bear. There's a ton of bears up there. It's a fantastic place for archery hunting if that's what you're into. I think it's going to be a kick-ass week. The only thing you have to do is get yourself to and from Prince George and take care of your taxidermy costs. I've got everything else covered. Lodging, transportation, tip for the guide and outfitter, you name it, I got it covered. So there's less than 1 week to enter. Every $5 you spend gets you one entry. ForgedInTheBackcountry.com. Back to this series. So this mindful hunting vlog series that I'm going to be doing in the preseason is going to be focused on everything that isn't an actual hunt film. And so the idea is I want to lift the curtain, bring you guys behind the scenes and show you what I'm going through for my scouting and preparation for this year. So I want to know what you want to see. Is it e-scouting? Is it gear prep? Is it financial stuff? Like, how do I actually organize my life so I can spend this much time in the field? Is it how I deal with my wife and my kid and manage my relationships there so they're okay with me going away from the time? Anything that you want to see me dive into that you think would be helpful to you and aid you in putting more animals down this year, I want you to drop it in the comments section below, and I'll try and cover that information moving forward. So I'm going to leave on Wednesday. It's Monday now, so I leave in 2 days. I'm going up north for 3 days. I'm going to set up a bunch of cams and salts for whitetail. You're going to see a lot of whitetail content on this channel this year. I've become increasingly obsessed with hunting whitetail with my bow from stands specifically. So I'm going to be putting a lot of energy into that this year. So that video should come out early next week. Again, if there's anything you want to see in this series moving forward, drop a note in the comments section below. 1 week left to enter, ForgedInTheBackcountry.com. Every $5 you spend will get you one entry to win a guided black bear hunt in British Columbia. If you could engage with this content in any way, it would be greatly appreciated. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, thank you for tuning in.
Told you.